Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Red Pill Your Healthcast. My name is Dr. Charlie Fagenholz here with Lauren Johnson, and we have a guest this week. We are changing it up from our usual Q&As, and we are inviting more guests on the show. And we have a good one today. I think this one's going to be very informative, very digestible, and very effective. And so we have our good friend Dr. Abby Kramer on here today, and we are going to be breaking down red and infrared light and all the light therapy. That's the buzzword, like the new gluten is and stuff like that. And so we are going to just talk about that. We're going to have a good conversation. A lot of people have known that I have said the future of all medicine is light therapy and laser therapy, and I still stand by that. I think Lauren is along the same lines as that as well. And so we thought this would be a good conversation for people to be like, all right, we see every dang influencer pushing all these dang lights. We don't know what's what, who's who, what is going on. I'm still trying to make my sourdough bread. And we're going to talk that today. So hopefully this clears some stuff up and makes a little more sense when you hear Lauren and I talking about red light and why we use it with us, our patients, our families, and just everybody. So, Dr. Abby, what's going on?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm sure you guys and me, like on social media, some of the number one things I get asked about is red light therapy. And so I hope this is a great resource for you guys' audiences on when they want to actually learn more about what it is, how it can help them. This will be a nice, easy deep dive to really understand that.
Yeah, and just before we dive into that stuff, a little bit of your background on red light, what got you interested, just, give us a quick elevator speech of why you jumped in with red light.
Yeah, so I just like you, Dr. Charlie and I went to school together. We go
Yeah.
way back, and
We were
I've
actually
been
neighbors in chiropractic school as well.
true. I used to be training for half marathons, and I it's back
What?
when we were learning like muscle testing and frequency testing,
Yeah.
and I would like do my training run, and I would end at your house so you could like treat me and turn my muscles back on. It was great. Those were the
Oh
days.
man, what? Yeah, those are the
Yeah,
days a decade ago.
what a journey. I obviously work in practice very similar to Dr. Charlie, using frequency testing and muscle testing and just work in a very holistic way. And so I've always known that light therapies, lasers, things like that are super beneficial. And years ago, I joined the team at Fringe, and I'm now their medical director. And Fringe, one of the big things we make and sell for people are red light therapy products. So I've been deep in that world and educating people and clinicians on this topic for a few years now.
Amazing. So let's start off. What is it? What is red light?
Yeah. So red light, it's important to understand that red light is usually a kind of umbrella term for red and near infrared light. Really high quality red light therapy products will have both of those. And that's two different wavelengths of light. I think that's important for people to understand. Not that red light alone isn't beneficial, it definitely is. But if you're shopping for a product and want to get the biggest bang for your buck, I would purchase one that has red and near infrared light. But it's the conversation really starts with what is light,
Hmm.
right? And light is, it comes down to it's a photon, which is like a nerdy word, but that's a particle that travels along a wavelength. So if you guys think if you squiggle a wave, like these squiggly lines, different wavelengths of light have different kind of peaks and valleys along that wavelength. The distance of that peak and valley makes a different color. And so, we have red light, there's blue light, everyone's heard of that. Near infrared and far infrared light are invisible spectrums of light. So if you guys see a lot of red light therapy devices, they many times have red and near infrared light, but you only see red. That's because near infrared light is invisible to the naked eye. So if you look at, for example, Fringe's panel, we have people contact our customer service, they turn it on, they're like, only half the lights are working. That's actually because every other light is near infrared and it's not visible, but it generates heat. And so these wavelengths of light are present in the sun. We know the sun is always best. The sun is the best healer, but we're not outside 10 hours a day anymore like our ancestors would. And so red and near infrared light are very, very well researched and studied to have huge therapeutic potential. You just want to make sure you're hitting the right research-backed wavelengths of light because there are a lot of bad products out there, right? That are just cheap. You're not going to want to buy just any old product on Amazon. You want to make sure you're getting true therapeutic potential of red and near infrared light.
One thing, I'm reading a few books right now, all at the same time. I don't know why I do that to myself. But one of them is about laser and red light and all light therapy, biomodulation.
Hmm.
And one of the most profound things in that I've been reading so far is that no matter what the cause of your problem is, whether that, Lauren and I talk a ton about parasites, viruses, fungus, emotions. It can be an emotional or a chemical cause, but at its core, what is really happening is a change in electromagnetic frequencies of your cells at the
Hmm.
end of the day. That is what it is. So, light therapy is what reconnects or reharmonizes the electrics of your system. Your whole body works off light and frequencies. That's who we are. And so I found that very fascinating because that means that no
Hmm.
matter what protocol you're doing, whether you're doing, your parasite cleanse, whether you're doing your pH balance or, whatever everyone's talking about these days, light therapy will help every single
Hmm.
protocol because it's doing the electromagnetics of your cells. And the goal of all those therapies is to get a balanced electromagnetic frequency of your cells and what we call stability in the electrics of your cells.
Yeah,
So
and
it's fascinating.
it's one of those things where the more you read about it, it's really appears like this is too good to be true,
Right.
right? Because it's just crazy. It's like, wait, can red light really help all of these things? And the truth is, like, yes. And it's actually kind of difficult from a marketing standpoint because it's like, we just sound crazy over here. Like, red light
Right.
can literally help everything.
Right.
But man, it's like when you look at the data, like you said, if fundamentally you're helping the energetics, and we can talk more about this, but the mitochondrial function of the cell, if you're trying to detox parasites, heavy metals, heal your gut, lower inflammation, improve your cognition. Like mitochondria is essential for
Yep.
all of those things.
I actually think that's a
Lauren-
drawback because like it for marketing purposes because it actually makes more people very suspicious of red
Oh,
light when they
yes.
say it helps so much and it's like it really does.
Yes. Yes.
Like I
You
don't like
almost want
I
to
know
find
it I know
something
you
it
think I'm
doesn't
just
help.
saying
Yeah.
that. Because like how many
Yeah.
influencers just say whatever about whatever
Yeah.
product.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it really does help.
Yeah.
and
You almost
most
want to
people
find something it sucks at to be like, okay, it doesn't do this.
Yeah.
most people are these days are back, in the last 5 years, like, wait, I thought the only thing that gets those results is the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. The fix all.
The fix all.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to cure everything. Apparently, there's something to this red light. Maybe it's fake
Yeah.
news.
Yeah. Censored.
Not on
Uh,
here.
all right, so we all love it, and really, we kind of talked already about how the electromagnetics of our cells, our mitochondria, like how does it work? Well, what is the basics of what it's doing?
Yeah. So red light therapy, remember, red, near infrared, is absorbed through two different pathways in our body. The skin is the primary way. So that's when you guys see, right, everyone online, they're using their red light either directly on their skin or from like a close distance to maybe treat your low back, treat your knee, your abdomen, your brain. You've got an ache or pain, right? That is absorbed directly through the skin. That's important to understand. I've seen people before where, with all the best intentions, they were using red light therapy over clothing. And it
Hmm.
has to be directly on bare skin, preferably even without products. For example, if you're using a red light face mask, you don't want to put all your serums and oils and all of that on first, and then red light, you're creating a barrier between the skin and that therapeutic light that absorbs through our skin and actually creates a systemic response, which is very cool. A lot of people are like, okay, does the red light only stay on my shoulder if I'm treating my shoulder? No, it really does impact your whole system. So you're getting a huge therapeutic boost. And the other way we absorb it is through our eyes. And that is used, you'll see a lot of times in big red light panels, for example, or getting red or near infrared therapy like light bulbs, right? A lot of people have those in their nightstands and things like that because that's so much better. But that is really important therapeutically for our circadian rhythm and like hormonal health. So it is really important to also receive that therapeutic red, orangey, amber light through our eyes, through our visual system. Helps with sleep, helps with energy, hormone production, all of that. So those are the two ways our bodies absorb the light.
And would you say, I'm just gonna try to play a little bit of devil's advocate more so of what a layperson would be asking. Um, would you say that, uh, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. I had a good question and all of a sudden it went out.
It'll come back.
Because my first thing was talking about what I was thinking originally was red infrared light when the sun sets and rises is when you get those from the sun. A lot of people are going to
Mhm.
think like, well, if this mimics the sun, am I going to burn? And it's just
Mhm.
not the case. So let's talk to that first, and I'll try to remember the
Yeah.
devil's advocate question I was trying to say.
Yep. So the wavelengths of light from the sun that mostly burn us are UV wavelengths, right? So the sun has a lot of different wavelengths of light. Red light therapy products only have like two, like red and near infrared. Maybe we'll talk about blue light, right? But so red and near infrared compromise, I believe, around 50% of the sun's wavelengths. And then there's more from there. Some are like UVA, UVB. That's what can potentially cause skin damage and burning. So you're not going to burn yourself from red and near infrared. The caveat to that is you can get like a slight sunburn if you do too much. I have done that to myself before because I wanted to be the guinea pig and test it.
Mhm.
I had like menstrual cramps and I just kept running the red light wrap over and over and over, probably like 3 hours. The next morning, I for sure had a tiny bit of pink little burn, right? Because the near infrared does provide some heat. However, like it wasn't really painful, wasn't a big deal, but you don't really need to do that at all. The research actually shows less is more with red light therapy. And you do hit a point where if you overdo it, you lose that therapeutic potential because your body needs time after a red light therapy session for the cells to turn over and heal. Like we need a break, just like how you can't be outside for 12 hours under super hot sun, or your body's like, I don't like that. So you will not get burned. Now, my caveat to that would be with a good quality, safe, effective red light therapy device. Some devices out there, like I'm talking those huge big panels, you guys have probably seen those, like full body or even a full room. Those are going to be incredibly high intensity. That definitely probably could potentially be dangerous if you overdid it or did too much.
I remember my question,
Great.
and that was um, another very popular subject on all of social media is histamine. And so, if someone does red light and they get a histamine flare, what does that mean, or is that possible?
I'm never going to say something's not possible
Hmm.
because we've all seen those 1% of patients, the canaries in the coal mine,
Yeah.
right? With those patients, I can't speak for necessarily other devices, but with like fringe red light devices, first of all, we keep our intensity very, very low to a sun-like intensity. So we haven't had this conversation yet about specific wavelengths and intensities, but I might as well go there. So
Yeah.
intensity in red light devices is measured in something called milliwatts per centimeter squared. Okay, you can look on any website, they should tell you the intensity or the range of intensity their product falls within. Now, a lot of those really, really high powered units might be 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared, even up to like 150. That's very intense. At Fringe, we design our devices to meet the sun's intensity because actually the research also backs this up that the most therapeutic range to be within for intensity is between 20 and 40. Just so happens that that's the sun when it hits your skin. That nice, just like gentle, warm feeling.
And is
Okay.
that like when the sun's setting and rising compared to like midday sun?
That's a great question. I will look that up and get back to you.
I'd be curious because
I'm
that's
sure
when
it
all
de
the therapeutic benefits generally
totally.
happen.
Totally. And I'm sure it depends on like what latitude you're at and
Yeah.
what season and all of that, but I'll ask the team about that. But so we hit ours between that 20 and 40 range, which is very safe. A lot of companies, you'll see this in marketing, are like very, very big on high intensity, like medical grade, very high intensity, right? We always want like more is always better, right? In marketing, stronger, better, faster results.
Right. Right.
But the research just doesn't show that. They've put low intensity red light units against high intensity in comparative studies. And one would think, okay, if you do a really high intensity unit for, let's say, a 5 minute treatment, and then maybe you do a lower intensity unit for like 20 minutes, you would get similar results. It actually shows that the lower intensity, little bit longer treatments get better results than very high intensity for less time. And so it seems like that's really the intensity our bodies want
Hmm.
and do the best with. Now, the caveat to this, I will say with intensity, we suspect that many of these companies claiming really high intensity are probably measuring it wrong. Because if you're saying your product is like an intensity of 150 milliwatts per centimeter squared, you're like gonna melt people's face off. Like it's like it would not be tolerable. They would not be in business if it was that strong. It would like be so uncomfortable. So there is a big problem in the industry. People aren't measuring it correctly with like third party whatever. So if you're wondering about your red light unit at home, just reach out to the company you got it for. They should have that third party testing and be able to tell you the proper intensity of like when it's hitting your skin.
Isn't that happening with EMF testing too? Because I feel
Oh,
like
yes.
I've seen where one company will test for EMF really close to like maybe like on the skin, which is where, or,
Yes.
how you would use it on the
Yes.
skin,
Yes.
versus they'll test for EMF, 2 feet away or a foot
Correct.
away or some inches away, and it's not
Correct.
going to be as accurate for actual use.
Correct. And I think a lot of companies like do that on purpose so their numbers are lower, right?
Right.
And EMF testing, just like intensity, just like third party testing with supplements, like anything, it should be third party. It shouldn't be like some person at the company is measuring this in their basement.
Wait,
And
are you guys talking about like the EMF from the devices? Is that what you're
yes,
saying? Okay, got
yes,
it. Got it.
yes.
I thought you were talking about like taking a tri-field meter and like measuring EMF around the body in
Right.
general.
Oh
I'm
Right,
like,
no,
right,
no,
right.
when are
no,
people
just
doing
from the
that?
device.
Am I late to
Because I
this
always get
party?
Well, some
asked,
people
like, is
probably
this
are.
Yeah,
device, whatever it is, an air
got it.
purifier,
Yes, yes.
whatever,
And
is
it's
this low EMF?
Got it.
Yes, and it's hard to do, right? And it's not like this is regulated how people have to disclose their EMF. If you're really testing EMF, you have to be in like a Faraday cage room, basically, because there's EMF in my office right now, right? So how are you testing what's coming off the unit, what's hitting your skin, if the EMF levels are already what? It's a complicated process, and I think a lot of not reputable companies just either don't do it at all or are like, it's low enough and throw that like logo up on their website.
Hmm.
The second thing I was thought about, because you were talking about a histamine response to red light, and
Oh
I
yeah, I never
definitely
actually answered that.
there are some canary in the coal mines that will
Hmm.
have those weird like responses to just like literally any type of therapeutic intervention.
Hmm.
And I have seen that happen with red light if they're pushing it too much and the
Hmm.
mitochondria, maybe it's too activating for the mitochondria, is what I was kind of thinking. So I always told them to slow down, start
Yep.
much slower,
Yep.
and then you go listen to your body. What are your
Yep.
thoughts on all of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're exactly right. I those patients often have a histamine response to the sun.
Hmm.
So you usually can figure that out before they even start red light therapy. Like we've all seen those people, even the kids that are out playing soccer in hot sun and they're all red and blotchy and flushed. That's like photosensitivity. They're reacting to light. So they likely would have a similar response to red light. And especially if it's a high powered unit, potentially a negative response. But all you have to do in that situation is either increase your distance from the light, right? So if you're normally holding a unit or a wrap right on your body. Hold it a few inches away if you're using like a panel or a box. Increase your distance. That's going to lower the intensity by a ton. Fringe red light therapy wraps and panels, you can adjust the setting to be like half as strong. Or you do less time. You can do full powered. Maybe you did a 10-minute session and had a histamine response. Start at 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Work your way up. Start doing it like every other day instead of every day. I don't think I've ever found someone that with tweaking, we couldn't find a dose they can tolerate, right? It's just like with a supplement. If you have a bad reaction or it's too intense with an herbal product and you were taking three a day, go down to one a day or half a capsule a day and build your way up because it is one of those things. If you're reacting to it, you probably do really need it. You just need a much smaller dose and to build it up because that ultimately is really going to help those patients heal their mitochondria, increase ATP production, which is essential for them to heal, right? So it's just backing off, finding what works.
Yeah, and I would say that back to what I was saying, how everything is, electromagnetic to the cells and really balancing the energetics of the cells. And I said that if you have emotional stuff and chemical stuff, it still comes back to the electromagnetics of the cells have to be healed. But if you get a histamine response off of sunlight and red infrared, near infrared products, then there's probably some chemical and emotional stuff that hasn't been addressed yet that does need to
Hmm.
still be addressed.
Yep. Yeah, it's like you're loaded with parasites or what's going on or mold
Yes,
that you can't
exactly.
tolerate, 10 minutes out in the sun. So it
Yep.
can also be a good kind of smoke signal of
Yep.
like, okay, there's some deeper work that needs to happen here.
Yep. All right. So, what about, did we cover really how to use a red near infrared light product?
No, but I would say maybe first, should we talk about the wavelengths
Yeah.
to look for?
Yep.
Because we get asked that a lot. So, in general, the most therapeutic wavelengths you want to see and whatever red light therapy product you are shopping for, they should have these front and center. You should be able to see the wavelengths. So we talked about intensity. Okay, that's how like strong it is. These are the specific wavelengths when we talked about those waves of red and near infrared. So red light should be around 660 nanometers, measured in nanometers. Near infrared should be around 850. Now, that can vary based on what you're looking at. If you're talking about a laser, it's going to be different. That's a
Mhm.
much like smaller, more targeted thing. But if you're looking for a safe, gentle, effective at-home red light therapy device, those are generally the ranges you want to see. Now, they always say specific numbers, but it's a range, right? So if your product on the page it says 650 for red light, that's fine. There's like some flexibility there. But that is really what you want to look for. And I've seen some like cheapies on Amazon. They either don't even say the wavelengths or they're like way off. And a
Mm.
lot of these cheap products are, it's like literally a blue light LED that they just put a red film on it. And so that's what I really want people, yeah, Laura, I know. That's what I really want people to understand. Like you do not, like I know you might save 150 bucks, but it's not worth it. You
Yep.
don't know if you're like microwaving yourself with freaking EMFs. You're basically just putting, you might as well take like a light bulb out of your car and put it on your shoulder. Like it's
Yep.
just, you don't know if you're actually getting any therapeutic potential unless people are disclosing this info.
Yeah.
Oh, that I
But
see a lot of people do that on the holistic space. They're like, you don't need that fancy device. All you need to do is go get this red light chicken light bulb, and
The lizard lights from the geraniums.
I'm
We did
just
a whole post on that because it was going viral. They sold out on Amazon. This is a couple months ago, you guys. It was kind of hilarious. This chick on TikTok or whatever, I don't know, blew it up, made some post about like, don't go buy these expensive red light therapy devices. All you need is this red light bulb that's literally meant for lizard cages.
then they say
Like,
it doesn't
come
work. And I'm like,
on.
what? That's not the
And they're
same
like, it
thing.
works the same. I'm like, please tell me how like sitting by your lamp with a lizard light is like healing your mitochondria. So
Yeah.
don't do that. And they sold them out on Amazon. That poor lizard light company. Now none of the lizards have their lights.
That's hysterical.
It's so funny.
The I'd say like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was talking to my grandparents and they had been using some cheap red light device on Amp from Amazon.
Oh yeah, of course.
And, and then, I sent them some Fringe product and my grandpa was like, before he's like, yeah, I'm doing this red light and it's not, I don't really notice that big of a
Yeah,
difference. And then
right,
he
right.
tried a quality product and he was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I totally understand.
Yes.
Like I feel the difference, and
Yes.
and so it does make a difference. It's,
Yeah.
a lot of people are on a budget trying to cut corners on stuff, and there's some things that you just can't cut a corner on.
Yeah. And I understand because on paper, if you're looking at these things and you're like, this product on Amazon looks exactly the same,
Hmm.
and it's like 60 red lights in a wrap, and it looks just like the Fringe red light or whatever. This is why these like deeper conversations are important because once people understand the science behind it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I can't just, it's not just a red film on a light bulb that gives you the benefit.
Right. All right. So how do you use it? There's many different types of products, right? There's head
Yep.
wraps, there's long wraps, there's panels, there's boxes, there's,
Yep.
all these different things. How do people go about using this?
So it really depends on what your intentions are. And that's one of the biggest questions we get asked at Fringe is like, okay, I'm sold. I know I want red light therapy and I want to use it every day in my house, but which product should I buy? Where should I start? And my answer to that is always like another question. Well, how do you want to use it? Okay. Because we talked about the two ways we absorb light, skin and eyes.
Yeah.
If part of what you want to affect is that circadian rhythm health, and like you want to be able to, for example, in the winter months here, I live in Wisconsin, it's dark at 4 p.m. If you want to be able to light up a room with like ambient, more red light, you're going to want a panel, a box, like a bigger type unit that can do that and that can affect that visual system, right? A lot of people have it on when they're taking their nighttime bath or during bedtime routine for their kids and can say big differences in behavior and nervous system type stuff. If you're buying red light because your knee hurts and you got arthritis, then I would do something like a therapeutic wrap. That's going to be a much easier experience for you, convenient, more comfortable, etc. So I know you've talked about this, Charlie. A panel kind of does it all, which is
Hmm.
nice. You
Yeah.
can use it for that multi-purpose, light up a room, but you also can treat any area of the body just to expose skin, 6 to 12 inches from the unit, 10 to 20 minutes. There you go. So it is kind of like the Swiss Army knife.
Hmm.
However, we've just gotten such good feedback on the wraps
Yeah.
because it's just so easy to wrap anything up. People love using it on their animals, on their kids. Wireless. This is an important thing for people to understand in the EMF conversation. Anything that is plugged into a wall is going to generate EMF. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's very specific things you can do to lower that EMF. So, our panel, for example, is like ultra low EMF, and at the treatment distance, which is where you're always going to be with a higher powered panel, is zero EMF. But many of those products can be very high in EMF. So, that's something to be aware of. So, anything that has no cords, like a box, a wrap, etc., is going to be no EMF unless it has a Bluetooth and all those fancy features. So, how you use it is very simple based on the intensity, right? So, this is going to apply to like the intensity we use 20 to 40. We usually recommend a 20-minute session over the area of concern, right? So this isn't just pain or inflammation. A lot of people think of red light for low back pain, headaches, arthritis, which is amazing for that. Rashes, eczema, psoriasis, okay? Red light's amazing for skin conditions, but also just general health. There's studies on red light therapy over the abdomen healing the microbiome.
Yep.
There's studies on red light therapy on the brain. It's amazing for cognition. It's preventative for Alzheimer's, dementia. If you've got that stuff genetically in your family, red light on your brain every single day, like non-negotiable. So any area also of preventative, of concern, if you're currently working on detoxing your gut health, I would think of it almost like a castor oil pack, right? Like you're doing that over the areas you're trying to support or heal at that time. I put it on my daughter's chest or like her back if she's got a cold or a cough. It's great for lymphatics. I mean, this is where it gets into that, like you're saying, Lauren, like for real, it can do all of that. But it's just such a great at-home healing tool for whatever comes your way, it can support it.
Hmm. One more thing that popped in my head before we go to the next question that I have written down was that same book that I was talking about. It talks about how when your cells start becoming unstable electromagnetically, the cells around those unstable cells will start giving their energy to like kind of rising tides raises all ships.
Yeah.
Like that's how our body heals. But then
Wow.
it's to the point where when there's so much what we call right inflammation, then the cells around can even give energy to help because then they'll die out. And so then you get into a state of disease essentially. And so
Yeah.
with light therapy, lighting up all of them, it's rising tides raises all ships again.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so fascinating to me because like I said, I've been saying this for so long that light therapy, laser therapy is, if I had to choose anything, that's probably what I would choose
Yeah.
in building health from that standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like in our house, I have buckets full of supplements and,
Oh
all
yeah.
these things. But like the one thing that is probably used on a daily basis by multiple people and animals in my house is red light therapy. It's
Yep.
just so easy, such like a comfortable, it feels good as you guys know. It's like nice and warm and it's just I especially like the moms listening, which is probably 90+% of your listeners. If your kids are picky with taking supplements or herbs or whatever, like red light is just so easy to help them heal.
Yep. And so next question that we'll go to is like delivery of it. We kind of talked about, wraps and panels and stuff like that, but the ones that I kind of wanted to mention was face mask, head wrap, and the pelvic wand. I think those three are very unique and a
Hmm.
lot of people will say, well, I have a wrap, I have a panel, I have a box. And can I just put that on my head? Well,
Yeah.
what would be the
Yep.
difference? And I know the difference, but I think that's pretty
Yeah.
important to talk to when a lot of people have those questions of, well, I already have this and I want to work on preventing Alzheimer's or preventing
Sure.
dementia or just brain health cognition in general.
Yep.
Why would I then go and buy a head wrap when I already have a panel?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So we'll start with head wrap. Head wrap, many, many people on our team at Fringe believe it's the most important product we've made for that reason. Because if you don't have your brain health, what do you have? And
Yep.
so the difference with the head wrap, I mean, the convenience you can't beat. It's kind of hard to lay your head in front of a panel for 20 minutes, right? Realistically, are you going to do that every single day or at least 3 to 4 days a week? It's not the most comfortable thing to try and take the wrap and like you can do it. So the short answer is like yes, you can use other products. It's just not going to be as effective because our head wrap has a third wavelength of near infrared light that is specifically designed to penetrate the skull deeper. Okay,
Bingo.
because you're trying to get to the brain. This isn't to say you can't get benefit from other devices, but if your main target is neurologic brain support, you definitely should have a head wrap. And there's also just so many more lights. There's like 450 lights in the head wrap. It covers the entire area, which is just impossible to do with other products. So if we've done whole podcast episodes on red light therapy for autism. That's a big one, and neurodevelopmental things, ADD, ADHD, Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, stroke. I mean, we have huge blogs on our website about red light for brain health specifically. So definitely check those out. But that's why it's got that extra wavelength in there.
Yep.
And it's just wireless. You put it on like a hat. So because this is, people really need to understand this. Like any holistic natural remedy, it is only going to work if you use it consistently.
Hmm.
So if your red light therapy is kind of collecting dust, right? You either got to commit it or like find something that's more realistic and easy for you to implement on a regular basis. So if you're like, I'm very concerned about my cognition or my mom's brain or whatever, the head wrap is going to be by far the lowest lift, easiest way for them to get that therapy in daily, ideally.
And that's kind of what I was getting to was it has different wavelengths. We were talking about how important wavelengths are
Yep.
and
Yep.
how there's different wavelengths and that would be, to me the main thing that sets them apart. So the
Yep.
other one that a lot of people want the face mask for wrinkles, for acne, for all that. There's, blue light that we're about to talk about. I also think that as you said, most, if not every single 100% of our listeners are moms or females.
Yep.
Pelvic wand, super underutilized. And
Yep.
yeah, talk to us about those two, why they're, different than just the panel and the wraps as well.
Yep. So the face mask, the main difference with the face mask is it has therapeutic blue light. Okay. The red and near infrared are the same as a wrap. So certainly if you want those anti-aging, anti-wrinkle benefits, you could slap, a wrap on your face. Again, are you going to do that? Probably not. That's freaking annoying. I wouldn't do it. Or you can sit in front of a panel or a box and you're going to get the most anti-aging and like skin health is that red and near infrared light. So you absolutely can use other products to get that benefit. But the therapeutic blue light is specifically antimicrobial. And so it's amazing for acne, blemishes, infections, right? If you've got like chronic yeast, fungal, candida type issues, for teens, it's amazing, obviously. So I have people with acne run the red and near infrared setting because there's also data on that helping acne and helping like your skin and then the blue light setting. And the nice thing with the face mask is it's only a 10-minute session is all that's needed. And for skin health, you really only need to do it 3 to 4 times a week. You don't actually need to do it every day, which is super nice. And our face mask is really high quality medical grade silicone. It's easy to clean because understandably people are like, I don't want my like 16-year-old's acne face and then I'm putting it on. So you can clean it off. The cool thing with the face mask is you are also supporting more things, and no one talks about this, but the easiest part of the skull to penetrate, the thinnest, is here in the front. So you are giving your brain a little boost with the face mask. And for sinuses and sinus infections, it's clutch, and no one talks about that. But if you are a sinus person, I would use the face mask over anything else and run the red and blue settings.
Love that. Love that. Talk to us about the therapy wand before we get into the next.
Okay, Pelvic Wand is awesome. It's like our newest red light therapy product. It was developed by women's pelvic floor physical therapists. And so they helped really to design it to be the most effective and most comfortable. A lot of ladies out there, if you've done pelvic floor physical therapy, when you're inserting anything vaginally, it can be very painful. It can be uncomfortable. It's just not an enjoyable process. And there really wasn't like a really well thoughtfully designed product out there, I don't think, until now. And so, yes, it is a wand that is designed to be used internally. Okay. A lot of people are like, really? Like, yes, really. That's what it's for. That is how you most easily access those tissues is from internally. If you go see a pelvic floor therapist, they're going to be doing internal work. Okay. And it comes with a really nice manual guide, tells you how to use it, but it has red and near infrared light, which is great for just optimizing that tissue, for hydration, helping any pelvic floor musculature. A lot of women, especially if you've had babies, can have really, really tight, like hypertonic pelvic floor muscles, which can really like ruin women's quality of life. A lot of women have chronic leaking That is not normal. It should not be your reality that you're going to, like, you can't ever jump on a trampoline with your kids or you pee yourself. That should not be your life. And so, if that is, that's just a signal that those muscles are really out of balance, which can happen. So it shows you can go through a very specific way. You kind of do like a clockwise rotation and you find the spots that are really tender or tight, just like if your neck muscles or whatever are really tight, and you help to release that tissue. And the light just like penetrates so deeply and is so healing for that area.
Mm.
And then that also has the blue light, which is incredible for women that suffer from chronic infections, yeast infections, UTIs, BV. All of those things are vaginal biome, right? Has
Yep.
its own microbial balance, just like our gut and just like our mouth. And so getting that therapeutic light in there can help restore proper balance. And it really has just been a game changer
Mm.
for women's health.
I have
Have
a
you
funny
all
story about it. Go ahead, Lauren. Did you
have
say
you all
something?
had any feedback about women who've had a tear after pregnant with delivery? Have you all had
I
any?
don't know if I've heard that.
I mean, obviously, you
I
would
don't,
probably want to wait to use it, but still,
yeah.
the like, especially with like a grade 4 tear after delivery, the pain persists for quite some time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
also would wonder about the pelvic dysfunction, like the pelvic congestion syndrome that happens with
Yep.
delivery with some women. If
Yep.
red light, if the pelvic wand would actually be really beneficial for that too.
Yeah, I think it definitely would be hugely beneficial for pelvic congestion. For tearing, I would just get that cleared by your provider.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
General,
wouldn't use it right away, but I would think it
you
would help
know,
with the pain.
oh, it for sure would help with the pain. I would almost in that situation opt for, as weird as it sounds, almost like sitting on a wrap
Yeah, yeah.
because that's a bit more external. And our general rule of thumb with any like procedure, surgery, or whatever, we didn't even talk about this, but red light's amazing for scarring and
Mhm.
helping to heal scar tissue. Um, Rule of thumb is like once stitches are out or dissolved with their internal stitches, then you can use red light because it actually can cause the tissue to heal too quickly and then your stitches get like all jacked up.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that. Yeah.
So, if you've got stitches down there, once stitches come out, a week or two later or whatever, I would probably use a wrap in that situation and use the wand as well postpartum, but for like more internal imbalances.
Mhm.
Mm. So when this pelvic wand came out, it was around the same time as my Trenches Nashville event.
Yes. Oh,
And
everyone went crazy about it there.
yeah, and my mom was there. This is my
Yeah.
favorite story. My mom was there and she like really wasn't thinking. I think she was just trying to make conversation or something and at the booth. And Will was there.
Oh,
And
amazing.
for those of you who don't know, Will works for Fringe and is a male.
Yes.
And my mom asked a question about the pelvic wand and not even realized she was like, "Oh, so have you used this before?" And he said that to Will, and he's like, no." He like didn't kind of know what to say. It's like my favorite.
If anyone
Uh,
doesn't know, Charlie's mom is Fringe's number one super fan.
big Fringe fan over there.
Yeah.
She's a big
Yeah.
Fringe fan, and she loves it. She absolutely loves it.
Yes.
She's an athlete her whole life. She's a college athlete, so she has some knee stuff, some hip stuff, and she's really dove into this world and has I'd probably say almost every Fringe product, I would imagine.
She
And
for
she
sure
says
does.
it's
And I'm
not.
pretty sure she like won the giveaway at your event too, which is incredible.
She won the Air Doctor giveaway.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, and so she says all the time, like she needs to do her red light each day because she
yeah.
notices such a difference when
Yeah.
she does it. So,
Amazing.
our last thing I've written down is contraindications to red infrared light.
The main rule of thumb there is photosensitivity, like we talked about a little bit before. So there are certain medications, Lauren could probably speak to this because I'm not expert in this, that if you're on, it can cause you to be really sensitive to light and you should like avoid sun exposure. So if that is you, then red light therapy might not be for you or more at like a big distance or something, or maybe you're more getting it from that visual pathway than close or directly on your skin. And the only other one is pregnancy. I say that as a big caveat. Um, it's just like many things because it hasn't been studied in some giant trial. It's said that it's unsafe. So, what we generally say is if you are pregnant, not to do it direct on your skin over your abdomen, but anywhere else is great. And I wouldn't be concerned about like a panel being on if you're pregnant, right?
Right.
If you're pregnant, you probably feel fine being in a bikini and sunbathing. So the sun, right? So to err on the safe side, just not directly over your pregnant abdomen, but you could do your back, your shoulder, you could have a panel on and be just fine. So it really is safe for like the vast, vast, vast majority of people.
Yeah, I think red light is one of those things. I Now that I've done pregnancy with and without it, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
imagine not having it because like for headaches, for around
Yes.
ligament pain, for back pain, just for random stuff.
So
I mean,
amazing.
it's not like because my ligaments tend to get really tight during pregnancy and I do a lot of body work and I am, but when I do have some of those aches and pains, it really does help.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I really advocate for that because so many pregnant women are just like, well, it says not to, or you have to
Yeah.
ask with your provider. And of course, if you ask the provider, they're probably going to say no. Uh,
Oh, I know.
don't
Don't
put it
even get
over
me
my
started.
belly.
Yeah.
And that's more because it just hasn't been studied
Correct.
enough for that to be something I would feel comfortable with.
Correct. Totally.
It probably, I mean, you know, a panel, I wouldn't worry about that because you're sitting
Yeah.
far away from it.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
but yeah, about the medications, honestly, the only thing that I would caution is like if somebody's on an antibiotic and
Yeah.
then that would be one that they're not used to being on, that may cause some of that photosensitivity to come.
Yeah.
Most medications, if it causes photosensitivity, they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Um, and then also like the women who use all the retinol products
Yep.
on their face, that could be potentially an issue, but
Oh, that's a
I've
good
never had it
point.
be an issue for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
There are, I guess, another caveat is with the face mask. A small percentage of women who get something called melasma, which can often happen with pregnancy, kind of like those, they almost look like sunspots, like brown spots on your face. Um, Not all of them, but some of them have noticed with red and near infrared light that it'll make those spots more pronounced. Just like if they were outside all day, they come back inside and like, oh my gosh, my melasma is so much worse. So if that is you, a lot of times that can be due to the near infrared light, which penetrates deeper into the skin. So you could try just doing our face mask has a only red light setting, a red and near infrared and a blue. So you could try just doing the red. That often will take care of that. Or like we talked about before, back off the time, do 5 minutes instead of 10, play around with it. But that is one other thing we've seen.
Mm. All right. I don't have anything else written down. Is there anything that we didn't cover, Lauren, that you came to your mind, or Abby, anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, I think red light is something that most people are skeptical of, but they don't realize the benefit, the massive uses. I mean, even my parents who are like not very holistic or
Yeah.
natural, like, they use red light.
Yeah.
There are so many uses for it
Yeah.
that it does make it seem a little bit like too good to be true.
Yeah.
And like you're just saying that because you're wanting people to buy your product, and it's like no, like it really truly is a great thing and something that I
Yeah.
think most families would benefit from. Oh, and something I get questions about a lot is red light in like infants or like
Hmm.
if you're nursing, like for a clogged duct. And I use that, I would absolutely use that for a clogged duct, or mastitis, or it's any like that wouldn't be the only thing I would do, but of
Hmm.
course that would be one of the things. And then for infants, I just like if they have a foot rash or
Yep.
eczema, I would of
Yep.
course put it on there,
Yep.
and just not have them look at it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that for infants?
It's amazing for infants.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's where I really like the wraps
Yeah.
because you can also control the intensity. So I usually have moms with infants put that on like the 50% setting, and you just start very small with like 5 minutes or less. But for diaper rash, baby acne, all those things that are just normal, just, you just have to deal. No, no, no. Red light's amazing for that. But I think people get freaked out because they get told that like your infant shouldn't be in the sun, which is also like crazy. We could talk about that. but they don't want them to get sunburned or whatever, but that's not really a risk with red light therapy. That's more UV, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just start low and slow, but I mean, we have like crazy before and after like picture testimonials from customers with like babies with head to toe eczema that after like a couple weeks of using red lights completely gone.
That's what that's one of those things that's like, guys, this is not a supple. You're not putting it in it. If you can do something that has like less
Hmm.
risk, like, and that has a massive potential benefit, it's worth it to give it a shot and not have to put anything in your body or their body, to get that change. So,
Oh, I guess the one last thing we didn't talk about that we get asked about constantly is do you have to wear eye protection?
oh
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that came up to my mind
Yeah.
and I forgot to
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. So legally, if you buy a red light therapy device, they're probably gonna send it with like tanning goggles. Okay.
Yep.
That's like a legal thing. Okay. It's like a CYA. Cover your butt. Okay. However, again, this all depends on the intensity. If you're going to one of those recovery places or a clinic where you're doing a full body, super high intensity unit, you probably definitely should have eye protection. A lot of, you know this, Charlie, a lot of practitioners that use really high powered lasers,
Hmm.
they might have people wear protection on
Yep.
their eyes because that really high intensity can absolutely damage your eyes.
Yep.
However, like the fringe products that are again like that at that sunlight intensity, it's not going to damage your eyes. How often do we talk about stop wearing sunglasses all the time? We actually need to absorb that light. It's actually good for our eyes. There's tons of data, research wise, on how beneficial it is. There's studies on children of it actually improving their vision by having exposure to red light through their eyes. And we only get that visual system through our eyes, not through sunglasses, not through eye protection. Now, do you want to be your face straight up to a high powered panel? Not necessarily. That's going to be uncomfortable. But a lot of people get concerned about this with panels and children and that it'll hurt their eyes. And it's not going to. I mean, children are also intuitive. They're not going to stand right in front of a panel for like 45 minutes and roast their eyeballs,
and
right?
stare
So,
directly at it.
like, no one is doing that. So, it is safe for your eyes. However, you do need to build up. A lot of people, if they're huge sunglass wearers or aren't outside a lot, they might find the light uncomfortable to their eyes. And that's fine. So, build your way up. Lower the intensity, increase your distance from the unit, or use eye protection maybe for the first month you're using a device. But then I would encourage people to work their way up to being able to tolerate it because it is good for you.
Hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I concur.
I concur. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. That was very fun and will be very helpful for a lot of people because, a lot of people need, as we say, knowledge in a world that's starving for knowledge and drowning in
Yeah.
information.
And it's one of those topics that to really understand it, it does kind of require a conversation like this. And,
Yeah.
people need the education on it. So happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, all right, folks. Lauren, you want to read
Do we
your
need
favorite
to?
thing?
I mean, we didn't talk about any supplements. I guess
Yeah, true.
this
Maybe we
not meant to
shouldn't.
be medical advice. This is meant to
You
be
should probably still say this.
educational. Please speak with your healthcare provider before changing anything.
Oh, well, and then we laugh through the whole thing. That's
Laugh
the
through the whole
Oh,
best.
I
thing.
do
Yeah.
every time because I'm like,
No,
well,
we have one on ours too,
Yeah.
for
I mean,
sure.
I
You
think you
never
just
know.
have to in today's world. I don't.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's
No,
smart.
for
Yep.
sure. Cover your butts, as
Yeah.
we just said. So, all right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.